Welcome to the DLLS Rangers Weekly Podcast, now part of the All City Network. Hit the subscribe button for YouTube and also become a DLLS diehard at www.alldlls.com. Now here's Jeff and John. Hey everybody, welcome to the DLLS Rangers Weekly Podcast. This is episode number 21, and today right-hand pitcher Luke Jackson is going to join us. He's rejoined the Rangers, signed this offseason as a free agent. Before we get going, hit the subscribe button down below. Go to DLLS_sports on the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button and join up for All City Sports. This is our first episode brought to you by Premier Properties, who always sends us to spring training because we're going to spring training next week.
We sure are. Flying in Monday night, which seems to be the best way to manage two podcasts at once, and then we'll be there for six full days.
Come home late Sunday night.
Yeah, 6 days of games, and I think minor league camp starts while we're there, so there'll be plenty to shoot and talk about.
Yeah, lots of videos that we'll have from spring training, guys. Follow me at Recliner Nerd. Follow Jeff at what is yours?
Jeff Wilson TXR.
Jeff Wilson TXR. Follow the Dallas at DLLS Sports or at DLLS Rangers. We'll have some videos coming out on there too. We'll get a lot of documentation from out there, the backfields, minor leaguers, all that kind of stuff. And once again, Premier Properties is helping us out this year and sending us to spring training. And this is our first show for them as the sponsor.
Yeah, John, for those of us who don't remember, I remember. For people who are watching don't remember, what are you guys at Premier Properties do?
Yeah, so don't. Jeff's a full-time journalist. That's what
I sure am.
You're a sports writer. You're a sports writer, journalist, full-time. That's what you do for a living. I don't. This is something I do on the side. It's fun for me. I'm in real estate. I'm in real estate investing. Premier Properties is where I'm a licensed realtor, but we're not just a real estate company. We're a property management company. So if you own real estate, we'll manage property kind of like an apartment manager. If you ever lived in an apartment, if you own real estate and you don't want to deal with the phone calls and all that stuff, that's what Premier Properties does. And we're also doing something right now, kind of interesting. This might be something we've partnered up with an investor who's coming in. He's offering something called Sell and Stay.
Yeah, you were telling me about this.
Sell and Stay. So if anybody you can make a little money by referral that way. Maybe that, or maybe you yourself, you've got a home, you want to sell it. Problem with selling is you don't have anywhere to go. Maybe with these economic times that have kind of been tough, maybe your credit's gone down a little bit. So you can't just run out and rent a place. And when you sell a property, you get stuck and so you choose not to sell because, I don't really know where I'm going to go if I do sell it.
Yeah.
This investor's coming in with it's a sell and stay program. You sell the property to him. He gives you 90 days, 3 months free that you can sit in the property. If you come to a deal, you got 3 months, your bank account will have money in it because he'll have bought the house from you and you don't have to pay anything. You decide what you want to do. Maybe you want to go buy a new place. Maybe now you have some money to go rent a new place. Maybe you've got a little piece of property. You've always wanted to buy a trailer and put it out on there and go to the country. And now you'll have some cash to do it, but you'll have 90 days, no money you owe. You'll just be considered a tenant at the time. And after 90 days, you still don't have to leave if you don't want to. You can enter into a lease with him and you'll just rent the property back and he'll own it now and he'll take care of some of maybe those deferred maintenance. But you can make money if you know people in that situation. You can message Jeff, DM him or me. He'll get your info to me if that's the case, and we'll get a hold of you. But I think it's a pretty neat program, and you might know some people who've really thought about selling a house, but they really don't have anywhere to go. This is a program that could work.
Well, that's a real problem, It can affect anybody for whatever reason. And you're right. The economy has been bad the last 4 years. I experienced it twice.
Yes.
And did not enjoy either time. So yeah, I can feel for people in that situation and understand that you just might be stuck.
Yeah, maybe it's a home you inherited. You've moved into it. It's paid for. It just got maintenance deferred, and you don't know what to do. But hey, you know what? Premier Properties is great. They've sent us here for 3 years in a row now. That Karen here at Premier.
Thanks a lot, Karen, for all your help and support.
And doing that. And so that this is come and contact me about that. But hey, look, Premier's doing it. We appreciate it. But we're here to talk about spring training before Luke comes on.
Yeah.
This is my favorite. Look, I love the season. You and I have a great time during the games, and and DLLS Sports covers every single Ranger game. We've got someone out there to do it. I'll be helping some this year too. But spring training's one of my favorite times of year.
Well, it 100% is my favorite time of the year. I've said it. I'm not ashamed by it. I stand by it. You just get to know guys. Well, from a journalist standpoint, from a beat writer standpoint, it's the most important time of the season. But I like it because everybody is in a good mood. Hope springs eternal, as they say. The weather's great, and you just have a chance to get to know guys and do it in a place that's really growing on me. I never disliked surprise, but it was limited. I feel like I've kind of grown into reporting, at least on baseball, with surprises. It's growing. I mean, it's a big city now. It's like 120,000 people.
What's the difference from that first year you ever went?
Well, it's just there's not as much stuff. There were limited restaurant and dining choices and things like that. And it was hard to get to at the time because the 303 hadn't been built yet, so you're really stuck either on Grand or Bell Avenue getting to town or Bell Road, and stoplight after stoplight after stoplight. And it just took some getting used to. It closes down early because it is still built around several retirement communities. So it was just a little different, something to adjust to. But like Luke said the other day, there's not just the Red Robin anymore. There's a lot of stuff, some good restaurants. And anyway, I like surprise, but again, spring training is it's my time of year. We always, from fourth grade on, when I was growing up in Colorado before the Rockies existed, that's where we'd go for spring break. We'd go to Arizona and watch spring training baseball.
Well, it's become one of my favorite things in the world. And you may be right. Maybe my favorite part of Texas Ranger coverage in baseball too, and just in the fact that that the first year I ever went is actually when you and I kind of got to know each other. We'd known each other from the you were still with the other company, and we had known each other in the press box a little bit, but we would go to Booties and have a beer, and we sat and really got to know each other. And then when the economy hurt you the last 4 years and we teamed up, we got to know each other even more. But I love it. It's a great time for us with the players, get to know them a little bit. They kind of confirm, yeah, we'll do something this year. Let's get on and do stuff. They are more relaxed. And of course, surprise is surprise to me because it's been that way for the last 5 years that I've been going. It's been the same surprise Arizona. But, of course, I can't wait now. We got our little place we go get those tacos. And
I went 4 or 5 times already. So,
yeah, you've already gone 4 or 5 times. And now last time you've already been out there once. They had just started games when you left. Yeah. It was first games. We're going to have games all week. I'll do some backfield stuff. You know me, I always like to go back to the minor league backfields, get some good video back there, catch some of the guys we've had on at minor leaguers and talk to them and retouch base. Told them I always come find them when I'm out there. If you guys are going to be there by any means, if you see Jeff or I walking around, come up, say hello. Love to talk to you. Say hi. Thank you for listening and watching the show and do that. News out of spring training right now. Not a lot. I know that Wyatt Langford has been a little bit just nothing concerning, but right now, if a guy gets up and sneezes wrong, they're going to keep him out a day or so.
Well, that's a pretty good point. And then, he really downplayed the severity of it. And Bruce Bochy tried too, but he's back to doing full baseball activities with what's an oblique strain. Technically, I guess an MRI showed something. And anyway, he's back doing all the stuff. I don't know when he's going to get in the game yet. It probably won't be too long though. And, he should be ready for opening day. Plenty of time to get at bats. And if he feels he's short with the start of minor league camp, once games get going there, he can just go to the backfield and spend a day just getting as many 10, 12 at bats.
As many at bats as he wants back there.
Batting first and every if there's 2 games going, go from one field to the next field and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. That's just kind of the beauty of the backfields and the minor league games. You get to manipulate them however you need to.
Yeah.
And so that's an opportunity for him.
Yeah. And in other news that you guys have touched on, but that you and I haven't touched on because we haven't been together, the signing of Kevin Pillar to a minor league deal, that's intriguing. That's the right-handed Travis
right-handed Jankowski.
Travis Jankowski. That's a right-handed Jankowski. I mean, this is a guy that's a good defender, can play center field. He's a pretty good right-handed hitter. He's on a minor league deal. He cost you nothing.
Right.
And obviously he sees maybe an opportunity, and it can open up some freedom. Let's say if there might be a move to be made, even with a few weeks left here in spring training.
Yeah, it needs to be really good though. He's not he's definitely on the downhill side of his career. I mean, basically people thought he was retired.
Yeah.
And it turns out he didn't want to retire. So it's a year-to-year thing at this point. You have a young player, Leody Taveras, you believe in talent-wise.
Sure.
And still think it's in there. He just needs the chance, but you can't really afford to give him a chance. And then you have Evan Carter, who, was our little savior, as Josh Young called him in the postseason in 23, and then he's hurt last year. So you're wondering where he's at too. He's playing today, second day in a row that he's played, and everything seems fine. But that one bugaboo they both have is not hitting left-handers. And
sure.
For Evan, it's a pretty small sample size, so you wonder if he breaks out of it or will get a chance to break out of it. But yeah, then there's Pillar, a veteran guy who's a great defensive player who hit .310 against left-handers last year. So that could throw a wrench into things. And I wrote at the DLLS website today, I kind of did a roster projection, and that was kind of, if Pillar makes the team, well, does that mean Taveras gets traded, or do they carry a fifth outfielder, and does that mean Ezekiel Duran goes in the minor league? So there's some ways to go about it, but the first thing Pillar has to do is be good. He has to show that he's got something.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. He's not he has pressure. He can't come in and hit 100 and look lost at the plate with it. Yeah. He's got to come in and be somebody that is opening eyes. And
100%. And he seemed to know that, which is great. Under no false illusions.
This could also be one of those situations where it's like, you know what? I didn't want to go into retirement and say, what if I gave it one more shot?
Yeah. He kind of said, you'll know, he's talked to other players who've retired, and they're like, you'll know when it's time to retire.
Right.
Well, apparently now is not the time. He has a young family. They just moved to Argyle. So really? They're close, and that, so it sounds like it was a pretty limited scope here. I don't think he wanted to go back to the Blue Jays, for instance.
Yeah.
I think he wanted to be at a place where it'd be easy for his family to see them, where they could start settling into life and finding a school and all of that stuff. So, great, but it does add a little intrigue that you're wondering about at this point.
Sure. Well, and speaking of, the guy we got coming on later, Luke Jackson, the Rangers still haven't necessarily gone out and answered that closer's role, although they've got a few guys on the team that are candidates to be closers.
Yeah.
Luke Jackson has saved some games before, a few of them. And look, he got a major league deal. He did not get a minor league deal. So they are planning on him making the squad. He doesn't have options, so he's got to make the squad. I mean, obviously.
He's going to. And they're not going to sign a closer at this point.
No.
I don't even know who's left, honestly, after Finnegan signed.
Robertson.
All right.
But he's not. Is he a true closer?
Yeah, I mean, he's got 178 or 180
last year he was
saves.
Set up guy.
He could definitely do it, but you're kind of, I don't want to say hamstrung, but you have 6 guys who you're not going to option or get rid of. 5 of them can't go. Robert Garcia has options, but he's been told he's on the team, not to worry about it. Just get I guess, healthy. He had a nerve issue the last time we spoke,
right?
But he's over that. So there's 6 guys. So then you have 2 that you really need guys who can be optioned,
right?
But they have to be kind of they have to fit a role though. You would think that you'd want guys that pitch 2 or 3 innings at a time. So you're really kind of shrinking that field to guys with options and who can do that. And Dane Dunning and Jack Leiter are 2 guys who seem like they fit the bill. I don't know if they want to go to that extent with Jake Latz or Walt Pennington. I don't think they'd go above 2 with Mark Church. So you really are wondering, do they feel like DeGrom can pitch more than 6 innings an outing? Maybe they do later in the year. Same thing with Malley. I'm not sure. That's going to be interesting how that one plays out. And of course, it could go down to the last day of spring training. It could go into those 2 exhibition games. That wouldn't be the first time that the Rangers haven't set their roster until the day before the game or 2 days before the game, the opening day. So,
Jackson,
I'm not sure.
Team.
Jackson's on the team,
and so
he's on our show. Did we say that?
Huh? Yes, he's today's guest. That's what I was saying.
Right.
Today's guest is another candidate who has closed games before.
Okay.
Look, the one thing you want, look, if the last thing you get is a closer on your squad, that's the guy you want at the helm of that is Bruce Bochy. This is the guy that knows he knows the feel and what to do to get who he thinks should be the one. And he finagles it and moves it around and goes with the hot hand. And last year, the hot hand was Kirby Yates, and he did it the entire season, basically. I mean, and you couldn't argue. I mean, when they went into the opening day of the season, Kirby Yates wasn't the closer.
Correct.
He was not the closer. I think Leclerc is who they thought was going to be their closer, and going into it, and that role eventually that role plays itself out. Remember the World Series year? It was what's his name, Will Smith, who closed most games.
Yeah, Leclerc opened that season as a closer. It was no good, so then it became Will Smith, who was really, really good, and then no good, and then it was
Chapman or
good luck, and then somehow Jose Leclerc figured it out, and there he was in the postseason doing what they thought he would do all year long. So it's hard to close games. I know some people think, big deal, just find you a guy who can get 3 outs, but there's a mentality to it. Yeah. I think that Chris Martin has the mentality. Luke, I think it was 19, had a massive season. Maybe it was 18 with the Braves, had 22 saves. So there are options, but as Bruce Bochy's talked about, they're going to be starting maybe in the 6th or 7th inning, looking at what's going to come and what could happen. Bruce is calling them pockets now. I don't know if that's what the Rangers do, what their numbers people do, but looking for pockets and who would fit best in those pockets. So it could be by committee. I don't know. Maybe you could have 6 guys with 7, 4 to 7 saves apiece. I think the more likely thing is that somebody will become the closer, whether it's Chris Martin or Luke Jackson or
Emilio Teodo halfway through the season. Josh Forrest comes back. Maybe he comes
all
in.
Possibilities.
There's all kinds of ways to go. And if nobody seizes that role, you've got till the trade deadline to go out and figure out who might be on the market to move out of somewhere to come in and do it. Aroldis Chapman was the guy that they went and got. He ended up closing some games for him, and he ended up more of a setup role. But Josh Forrest closed. He threw the most important out that there was in 2023.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it really depends. But I'm anxious to get Luke on here and talk to him. I know everybody remembers now this is a guy that was drafted by the Rangers.
Right.
And then has been moved around and back in the organization. And he was a starting pitcher coming out of high school, but now here he is. And he's made a career out of bullpen, and that's what a lot of these guys do.
Yeah, it was he was the minor league pitcher of the year in 2013. He had a huge year for Frisco, and everybody's like, "Oh man, he's going to be in big league spring training and all that." He didn't get invited to big league spring training, and then 15 he was called up and didn't make his debut during a series at Seattle. There was a perfect opportunity for him to do it. And then he finally did make his debut that season, pitched some more the next year, was traded. A trade that I didn't remember that you had to tell me about, and was pretty steady for the Braves, hurt his elbow. That's where he met Kirby Yates, and they're big pals now. And Kirby's more of a mentor to Luke. And then Giants and Cubs or Braves, maybe all 3. Anyway, Luke's been around, and he is a different guy than he was when I first met him in 2010.
I always get him mixed up. You remember the name Cody Buckle?
Oh yeah,
He was the one that had the yips.
correct.
He got into that. All of a sudden, he couldn't throw the ball over the plate.
That's right.
And just that is one of the saddest things in the world I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'll never forget what's his name. The old A&M second baseman played for the Yankees.
Chuck Knobloch.
Who couldn't throw it to first base.
Steve Sachs.
Yeah,
it happens. Steve Blass was at the first one, right? The Pirates pitcher, and Jared Saltalamacchia had it too.
Yeah,
couldn't throw it back to the pitcher. So it happens. Cody Buckle, I believe it's Buckell. I don't know. Anyway, the last I heard,
he was a top prospect before all of a sudden.
The last I heard, he was working for the Guardians in some capacity. That's been a few years, but he's still in baseball, but not pitching anymore. I
think he's similar to the age of Jackson. He might be a couple years older.
Yeah, I forget the all those drafts collide at this point.
Yeah, and it's funny. I went back today because I saw that I knew that when Luke was taken 45th pick, and I knew that was a sandwich pick that year. That because obviously there's only 30 teams in Major League Baseball, and I was like, who else was taken that year? And that was the year of Jake Skoll, and there was one other guy that was taken before Luke was taken.
Oh, that was the bankruptcy year.
Yeah.
The catcher from Canada. Killing something.
Yes. Started with a D or something.
And then Cody Buckell was a second round pick in 2010.
In 2010. Okay. Buckell came that year. Anyway, but I go back and then I started looking at them first round picks, and you got to remember, good Lord, how awful the Rangers scouting department was way back when, way before you ever got there. I still go back to probably the biggest bust pick they ever had in the first round was a guy named Donald Harris, who was the Rangers took him in about 1987 or something like that, 4th overall from Texas Tech. And he was a defensive back, played cornerback.
Kellen Deglin.
I knew it was a D. I just looked it up. Yeah.
It's I mean, the Rangers have had some problems.
Jeff Kunkel.
But while they were struggling there, like in the middle 80s, they were killing it internationally.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
that's when they were going out getting Juan Gonzalez,
and Sammy Sosa. They were getting some pretty good players there.
They were making up for it on that other side.
But in 2010, the Rangers were in bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So they really had their hands tied on the draft. Bud Selig was not letting them get away with much.
Yeah.
I mean, that, Kellen Deglin, 22nd overall pick.
Yeah.
The next pick was Christian Yelich.
Yeah.
So
they made a mistake.
I'm thinking, they couldn't sign him. Yeah. They didn't have the money.
Hey, let's get Luke in here.
Luke's here?
Yeah, let's get him in here. I think he's trying to get settled in somewhere. It's like he's walking around. Yeah. Sit there.
There's Luke Jackson.
Oh, it's
him right there.
Just get him right now.
All right.
We'll give you just a second, guys. Let him get settled and
kick him off the screen while he's getting
organized. Let's get him in there and let him get settled in. And we'll bring him back in here in just a second. No, but Buckle, and then and because he never got above, I think he got to AA.
I don't even know he got to AA.
He once the yip started, it was
yeah. I bet Luke and Cody were good buddies.
Yeah, they might have known each other. Let's let him get settled in. Looks like he may not have a good connection there.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's switching over to a computer or something.
Could be. You there, Luke? All right. It looks like he might connect again. So he looks like he's going to do
retry.
That. Yeah. But, okay. So, but I noticed that one that, every time back then when they had really,
there we go.
He looks really good there.
He's a pro now.
Yeah. Now he looks like it.
All right. How we doing, buddy?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good. All right, guys, joining us right now is Texas Rangers right-hand pitcher Luke Jackson, this is an old guy from the organization who got traded a few years back, and he's run his way through some major league service time now, and he's back. Luke, thanks for stopping down and joining us today. I guess, is this an off day for you, or you just threw some bullpens or something?
Live bullpen today, and then just watch 5 innings of the boys play.
Okay. Yeah, I saw they were up 3-0. Looked like Jake Berger hit a home run, so good stuff there. Good stuff from Tyler Malley with 3 scoreless innings. When are you going to pitch in a game, Lucas?
I throw Sunday.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we won't be there. We don't get there till Monday night. So
You'll have to tell us all about it. Yeah.
I'll let you guys know. I'll be
Okay.
sure.
So how we doing? I mean,
Fantastic.
relievers don't need a lot of time to get ready. You came in late, but I'm guessing they're just kind of letting you work into it.
Yeah. This is my second live BP was today, so I'm pretty rear back ready to go for a game. I think they're just kind of holding off, kind of you line up guys to pitch, certain games, make sure you get a back to back in and stuff like that. So kind of just mapping me out.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing like the first time you were around and preparing to be a starter, and probably started throwing, I don't know, December and all that stuff. What do you do now? What's your throwing schedule now in the off season?
Oh man, it's changed in I guess year spring training 15 or 16. I went from wait until Thanksgiving to throw. I've thrown from the day the season ended, took 2 days off and just played catch and kept it moving. And nowadays, after Tommy John at 22, I kind of give myself about a month off, hang out with the
Okay.
kid, fam, and then it's
Yeah.
5 days a week, pretty much straightforward from I would say, yeah, December 1st, kind of 5 days a week, and then off the mound middle of January, and then get to live BPs. You probably normally get 5 to 10, depending on
Yeah.
where you're at before you get to spring, and then live VPs in spring.
So I'm trying to remember. I guess Mike Maddox is back. You knew Mike Maddox
Yep.
for your first go around, and maybe some of the training staff, but that's it.
There
Maybe
is
Beasley. You knew Beasley.
Bees was here 1 year with Bannister. Then we had from my tenure, you have Nappy,
Yeah.
Arms, Lucky, Newburn, Sean. Reagan was still with
TMI.
TMI, correct. Frazier was here.
Sure.
Danny Clark, who's now a different
Right.
role, but was I'm trying to think. I did this the other day. I was sitting there. I was like, who else? Kevin Torres. Kevin Torres is a catching instructor. Gilder Rodriguez was in Double
Oh
A
yeah.
with me. Yeah, G Rod. It's kind of There's still still a few guys hanging around.
Yeah. Danny
Nobody on the
Clark.
team.
Danny Clark's still in a different role, but still the greatest.
The best.
I love that guy.
Keith Comstock, another one.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Keith.
Yeah. Did you? Danny? I saw him this spring, and we started talking. I was like, "Hey, how are you with the flooding in Tennessee?" I don't know if you've talked to him about it, but he
No, I
was like
haven't.
stranded for like 3 weeks without power.
oh gosh.
Really?
Yeah,
Talk about that.
it's pretty crazy. I mean, a lot of other people had it worse, but the roads were blocked off, and I guess he lives on a farm, so they had their own food and everything. But like,
Wow.
yeah,
That's kind of wild.
It was rough. He was right there at
Yeah.
ground zero.
I heard a lot about. Because I live in Georgia now these days, and it just missed us. It was just north of us, and everyone kind of talked about like,
Yeah,
kind of how under the radar it kind of was, and we were. I didn't know anybody who was part of it, so it never really hit home. But it was way worse from some people. I mean, like,
yeah,
the flooding was absolutely absurd.
yeah. And you've been through hurricanes and such, being from the Miami area,
Yeah,
so
a lot of
that's
those.
that's no big deal. But just another hurricane. Who cares?
Get the
Yeah,
fly
I was born on Hurricane Andrew, so
Is that right?
literally my birth. The day it landed is my birthday, August
No
25th.
kidding.
Yeah,
That's a pretty great story.
yeah, like one of the worst hurricanes ever. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because it didn't just hit Miami, it then regathered and went and wiped out a lot of Louisiana.
Yep.
Andrew was a bad man. So
Yep.
It was.
yeah. All right. So it sounds like you're just fitting in just fine. What do you think of this bullpen situation where there's no like closer,
Yeah.
if you will?
Yeah. I think you have a lot of guys with a lot of experience that can, closer by committee or however it plays out, however, they want to use guys, but a couple lefties, couple righties, couple old guys, couple young guys. I feel like I was part of a bullpen like that in Atlanta for a bunch of years, and bullpen was actually, we were one of the better bullpens in the league going that way. So I think you build off each other, you learn from each other, pick up innings when guys need it. They pick you up. It becomes once you form kind of a brotherhood down there, any role works.
Yeah. Yeah. You like the closing.
I like any type of high leverage. It's a lot of fun for me.
Okay. All right. Well, that'll work. I think you're going to get a chance.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you know about Bruce Bochy? Obviously, a lot, but how is he to
Yeah,
actually play for him?
yeah. I've heard only great things, and one of my better friends in life these days. I get to hang a lot with Will Smith, who had him in San Francisco before,
Sure.
and then had him in Texas, and
Yeah.
only high praise. So I take a lot of that from a lot of players who had him before, who only speak. When you can do a players manager and a team manager, if you can knock both those out, you're doing a good job.
Yeah. Well, we love Will too. And
Really.
what a run he went on. Jesus, 3 World Series in 3 years.
Yeah.
First
That's
one, first one. You got to be a one of one somewhere.
that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Also, you're tight with Kirby Yates, or became
Uh,
tight.
yeah, I love Kirby.
But you talked about you were going through Tommy John. He was coming out of it. So how has he helped you um, get to where you're at now?
Yeah, actually, when we came to Texas last year, I got to sit in the outfield, talk to a long time, just telling him like some of the ups and downs I was going through. Because there's some days I had some of the best stuff I've ever featured, and there's a week where I didn't know what was going on. So by the end of the year, kind of had it dialed in and threw the ball a lot better with Atlanta than I did in San Francisco. But
Mhm.
I think the strangest part is I came out of surgery and I was like the best I'd been in a while, in like just those
Huh.
3 months. And then after like getting an off season of my first off season break and coming back and throwing, it felt like foreign again. So it took a
Okay.
year of kind of throwing foreign last year until about, I would say, the All Star break is when things kind of turned around. I think stuff wise was so much better than the year before. It's just I was figuring out how to pitch again. So
Yeah.
by the end of the year, I think it got a lot better and I felt a lot better. But I'm ready. I'm excited for this year.
Okay. No pressure, but Kirby had a 117 ERA last year.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the shoes we're gonna compare here. That's kind of a historic year, in my opinion.
God, that was low, dude, to throw that out
No, no.
there. I mean,
He mentioned in the first meeting, if I can do half of what Kirby did, I'll be in pretty good shape. And you're right. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
he was unreal, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. So I know you like to talk about a lot of different things. John's got a couple questions for you, kind of taking you back in your roots, and then we're going to talk about bourbon.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Okay.
Listen, so when we do this, when Jeff always does the baseball stuff, and I'm always, we get to know you a little bit more. A lot of people that are diehard Ranger fans remember that you were originally with the organization. You're drafted by the Rangers in 2010. You came out of Calvary Christian Academy. Is that what it was?
Yep.
Out in near the Miami area in Florida. So you played baseball, obviously. Did you play any other sports when you were in high school?
Yeah, played football and soccer. Played both.
What did you play
Mainly
in
as
football?
quarterback and kicker. Was
No
punter.
kidding.
Never
Did you
attempted a
start?
field goal, but punt QB for up to my senior year, and then I didn't play my senior year. I played mainly soccer and baseball. Kind of
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
hopes to play
I remember
college.
you being a big soccer guy.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
kind
I
of my
remember.
main sport, mostly through till kind of my later high school years.
It's crazy.
So this is always an interesting question I love to ask. I mean, as somebody who my kids will never be drafted. They didn't play baseball. I played, but never was good enough. You know, you see these days the draft comes up, and these kids are, a lot of them are in New York, and the ones that are going to be high picks. You were obviously pretty well thought of. You were taken in that kind of that compensation pick right there at the end of the first round. So where were you at during the draft, and how did you find out you'd been drafted?
Yeah, no, it's funny. I wasn't really. I talked to Texas a little bit. I think going into the draft, kind of remember, but I wasn't like kind of the team on the radar. I think there was two that I was like kind of confident that was like if I get drafted here, I guess I'm going to go. But if I don't get drafted, I was just kind of. And I think it was the Padres and Astros. I flew out and met both of them and did like kind of the whole pre-draft thing. Those are the only
Hmm.
two teams I remember doing. And um, kind of that day, I had two of my high school best friends came over and we just kind of like watched the first couple picks. And then I kind of got bored after like pick four. I wasn't even going to get picked there. I was just kind of bored watching it. And I was
Yeah.
like, so just went and played some ping pong. And my dad called me over and goes, "Hey, your agent's calling. Probably should answer." And I was like, he goes, "I don't think the Padres are going to draft you here." I was like, "Oh, good. No, like I was fine with going to college. Like I was like
Yeah.
dead set on that's kind of where I didn't mind school at all. So I was like not upset. I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to go with some of my buddies to University of Miami, and that's that. And then Texas called, like at a kind of shot in the dark. And they're like, "Hey, would you would you sign? And I remember just sitting there like in the middle of a ping pong game looking at my dad and I was like, what do you think? And he's like, I don't know, how bad do you want to play baseball? I was like, pretty bad. He goes, why don't you go? And I was like, all right, let's do it. And I signed that day and showed up to Surprise, Arizona in purple Vans with hair down to my shoulders. Was not ready. Was not ready at all.
we met you. The first time I met you was at Joe Robbie Stadium or Pro Player Stadium or whatever it was called at the time because the Rangers were in town, and you were there watching batting practice. And
That's wild. I do remember that.
yeah, we remember talking to you, and it was like I just remember kind of being a little bit ambiguous, like maybe you had agreed to a contract, but maybe there was something being held up. I don't remember what it was, but we were talking to you, and we were like, I don't know if he's going to sign.
Yeah, I was actually kind of a weird because they offered to pay me a little bit more to draft me later because they kind of called me and I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't really a number where you get drafted is where you get drafted. Could care
Yeah.
less about that. And they're like, well, you can come out and do stuff, but you're not technically going to be a Texas Ranger till the deadline it gets approved of, which is
There we go.
till like the end of
Okay.
August.
The mystery has been solved.
Yeah, it had to be like an approval thing back in the day. So kind of like the back in the day draft and follow type deal.
Well, but they were also in bankruptcy at the time, so that might have had something to do with it too.
That was huge then.
Yeah.
Could've-
Okay. Well,
could've
that
been that.
15 years later, there's the answer to our mystery that has kept us up nights.
Well, you alluded to it. So you were going to go to Miami. You had committed to pitch at Miami. Did you have any? I mean, that's a big school, very well known for college baseball. Now, did you have it? So that means you were pretty highly regarded. You were a first round pick. Miami's where you go. Anybody else in play there? Did you have any other schools you really thought you might go to, or was Miami it?
It's weird. I was kind of like I was thinking I was going to college to play soccer most of the time, so I was kind of really just dealing that. And then I think my dad was just like, "What's after college soccer? You're not gonna go to Europe and play. You're not gonna." Yeah. So he's like, "You might as well stick to baseball. You got a better future that way." So that became more serious my junior year, and my dad went to FSU, so I took my first visit to FSU,
Okay.
And they offered you?
Yeah, I was kind of a surfer kid, and Mike Martin was a little more old school than me, so I don't think that was going to go well. And then I took a visit to UNC, which I liked a lot,
Oh,
and
cool.
I did Duke and some of the more academic schools because I enjoyed school actually, and I was curious about just going to school, playing baseball, and getting a good degree. If baseball wasn't really the end goal, and then I went to Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt actually wasn't good at the time. It was more of like an academic school. They weren't like anything. It was at the time. It was UNC, Florida started to come around, and Miami, University of Miami, were like one of the top ACC teams.
Yeah.
And
That's
my
cool.
good friend and my summer ball team was like, "Hey, I'm going to Miami. You should come with me." His good friend Brian Redzewski, still pitching coach at FAU now, and I was like, you know what? I don't know anyone at any other school. Might as well just come with you. So we both agreed to go to Miami, and that's kind of where it ended.
All right. Well, that's pretty fun.
Did you have something you were about to ask?
I don't think so.
Okay, well then let's go to this. So you've been traded twice.
Mm-hmm.
You got traded from the Rangers in 2016. It was an off-season trade in December.
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder this too. Now, last year you were traded at the deadline. I want to ask that one too. But let's start in December of 2016. How do you find out you've been traded? I mean, like I've always wondered this too. All of a sudden, you just get a call from your agent, or do the Rangers call and say, "Hey, by the way, you're going to Atlanta"? How did that happen?
Traded from Texas to Atlanta. Actually got a call from John Daniels at the time. Awesome, great conversation. He gave me a lot of insight. Still, big fan of John Daniels to this day.
Yeah, we like him.
He just kind of sat me down and like I think this is best for both parties. Just new scenery, new look for you. Kind of struggled in the big leagues, but multiple times I was called up with Texas. He's just like I think. This is just like he's like I always hope the best for you, and I it really meant something because I talked to him later down the road when I was in the big leagues with with Atlanta, and it was just kind of interesting. And you kind of just get a call from the other team right after they let you know they traded for you. It's pretty kind of straight up. I remember it happened. I remember meeting like an area scout for Atlanta and just going to like lunch and talking to him after I got drafted. That was about the end of that. But traded at the deadline. Um, that was
Did you kind
interesting.
of sense you were getting traded? Was there rumors you thought you were?
Well, there's it's funny because like I wasn't having a good year and I was kind of like dead weight, kind of like dead money, and they're like, hey, they weren't gonna make playoffs. They were just trying to like you kind of saw like, hey, we're gonna move some people, and I was like, maybe I'll get traded here. I don't know. Maybe I'm like, I don't know if anyone's gonna trade for me. Am I worth trading for? What's going on? Because it's kind of a rough first half there, but I was starting to throw the ball a little bit better, and got to the trade deadline day before, no action, no movement. And I'm getting ready to go to the bullpen, and I'm like sitting there, and there was a game I should have for sure thrown in, and instead they ran a guy out again, like back to back days, and I'm like, this just makes no sense. Like, why am I not throwing here?
Yeah.
And I finally look over at our bullpen coach, and he kind of like looks at me, and we kind of laugh, and I'm like, okay, I guess maybe I'm traded. I don't know what's
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
They're close. There's something close. They called and said,
Something's going on. Like it just
yeah.
didn't line up for being in the game for so long, kind of seeing how a game should play out. It wasn't making any sense. So get back in the locker room, and I'm kind of like just like giving the old, my stuff is still in here, and no, nobody said anything. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting. Showered, like sat in my chair, and I was like, nobody's telling him anything. It's the last day. Here's the deadline. I guess I'm not getting traded. I go home. My wife's like, hey, she, as much as she loves me and cares about me, not much idea going on with baseball. She has no idea. Could tell you she couldn't tell you what a balk was, and I was like, babe, there's a chance like we have to go to a different city after this. She's like, okay, like we can make it work. We got this, and I was like, awesome. She's like, well, we have a babysitter tonight. You want to go to dinner? I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And while we were at dinner, I got a call from the GM, and I'm like, maybe I'm traded. And I stand up and I answer it. Let let me know. And Farhan was amazing, super
Yeah.
kind, and big fan. And let me know, like, hey, we're sending you back to Atlanta. And he's like, of all places we're trading you, I hope you, like, this is a good one for you. And I said, sorry I didn't give you, what was projected here, but I thank you for everything. And then I remember just getting a call from Alex and just laughing about it because me and him became good friends over the years.
Uh-huh.
And and to this day, me and my wife always talk. She's like, it's kind of funny. Like, we go to dinner, and every time we've like sat down to dinner, we've had like important things happen of someone get married or this, and it's
Yeah.
always just like a solo date night. Something happens. So now, anytime we go on a solo date night, she's like, just turn your phone off. Someone's gonna call with something absolutely outrageous, and it's gonna like But to this place, Mama Oakland is an amazing restaurant in Oakland that we were eating at. And to this day, she always says, like, I'm going to remember Mama Oakland the rest of my life. I said, me too. It's kind of interesting. So that
All
was,
right.
that was the trade. That was how trades went.
Well, that's an easy trade, though. You get traded home, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly. It was cakewalk. I just literally packed up my bags. I never even had a car out there. The first year I took like a scooter or just like one day if there was like traffic, I would just catch an Uber to the field. But
Yeah.
yeah, nothing but love like that city. I actually ended up really enjoying San Francisco. It's a cool place.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got. I guess you're somebody that can totally weigh in. Of course, now DFW can weigh in on the debate. But you were in Texas, and now In and Out versus Whataburger. You're not a Texas kid. You were raised in Florida. You've probably had both
Yeah.
over the years. Do you have a preference? I mean, look, I'm a Texas kid. I'm a Whataburger guy, but I do like In and Out burgers. They're good.
So I think In and Out's overhyped. Is it good? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too much hype for me that I don't ever want to side with it. I don't know what it is. I just don't side with the people that like are all about In and
Yeah.
Out. I'm not all about Whataburger, but I had some amazing nights in Double A in Frisco. We go play Corpus Christi in the game, and then we'd all walk to Whataburger, and the honey butter chicken biscuit is something to die for. So I will say there is a staple piece, but they serve it from like midnight to noon or something. Like I don't know, it's like a tough window to get it. So
Yeah,
that's kind of my gripe with it.
They
But
keep
if
it
you
their
do have a
breakfast thing.
chance,
Yeah,
if
it's
you do
perfect
have a
coming home from the bar.
chance after this, go on YouTube and type in the Ode to Whataburger. It's like
Okay.
a slam poetry, and it won like University of Texas's slam poetry.
Yeah.
But if you've ever been in a Whataburger, this guy like does like a poetry about it, and it's absolutely incredible. It'll hype you
Okay.
up.
Ode to Whataburger.
The
Ode to
Ode to
Whataburger.
Whataburger.
All right.
It's
All right.
fantastic.
Now, what were you going to talk about? Bourbon?
This guy says he's a big bourbon collector, and I
Isn't Bochy a bourbon collector?
Bochy's a bourbon guy. I think the coaching staff, through his influence, has become a bourbon guy. I've liked bourbon for a long time, and the first time I had bourbon,
when I go hunting, I'll do bourbon.
the first time I
Keeps
had
you warm.
bourbon, I was having like an allergy attack or something.
Oh, now that'll
My
clear
nose
you up.
was
too.
running. My mom just handed me like 2 fingers neat, and she's like, "Just sip on this, and it'll take care of you." I was like, "Damn, Mom, you're right. Clear me up."
I like mom. That's old.
And I
school
felt
right
pretty good
there.
afterwards too. And but so I'm not a connoisseur, but I really like bourbon. I think I'm probably a little gun shy to go out and buy a bottle of Pappy. My wife would probably kill me, but
Yeah.
I love going to the liquor store, once or twice a month and picking out a couple different bottles of bourbon. So, but
You
it sounds
sip
like,
it?
yeah, I do. I don't do it neat though. I do it on ice.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you've got a burgeoning collection here.
Yeah, I mean, I've been collecting for some time now. I guess it's not collecting if like you open things every now and again. Like it's not like I'm
Yeah.
keeping it for like the zombie apocalypse. It's like
Yeah.
I'm not like a reseller or anything like that. It's more of
Okay.
like I was really into wine for a bunch of years and really was fascinated by like what made this wine better than that wine. And that sent me down a rabbit hole and I always wanted to make wine. So I started like just kind of like diving deep into it, learning about wine. And during this whole thing, my little brother is just like he likes bourbon here and there, and he kind of was showing me cool bourbons, and I kind of went down this rabbit hole of I was like, why can't I just go to the store and buy this bourbon? Why is it like hard to find?
Yeah.
And then that went down a bad rabbit hole of me like trying to find cool bourbons to see if they tasted better than the other cool bourbons that are at the store, or if price was the only reason bourbon was good.
Yeah.
And then playing baseball, a bunch of country folk, they love a good bourbon, and we kind of became like a kind of a clubhouse thing, and a bunch of guys got to talk a lot with Charlie Morton, who's a big bourbon guy, and Adam Duvall out of
Okay.
Louisville, big bourbon guys, and so there's a lot of baseball players that are into it. And so I was like, hey, why don't you try these? And come to find out, I have like quite a vast, massive collection because I was buying a lot of bourbon when it was cheap. Now it's like
Oh,
really
yeah.
expensive and hard to get. So I have tons and tons of bourbon, but that also spiraled into me meeting a bunch of really cool distillers in Atlanta, Georgia, and all over actually. And got to hang out a lot with the guys at Buffalo Trace and ASW and Short Barrel and a bunch of really cool distillers, and
Hmm.
got to learn how it's made and got to sit down and do some of my own barrels, and
Oh, wow.
yeah, got to craft some own whiskey and kind of learned a lot about the art and what makes it, what it is and why it's collectible and how many hands are involved and the time, and just a really cool kind of just fascinated with that whole field of I wouldn't say collectibles, but more along the lines of what makes things interesting and why they're sought after and why the price rises. And I come to find I like some bourbons way more than others, and my
Uh-huh.
palate kind of like shifts here and there. And sometimes I'm a very high proof guy, and sometimes I'm like a super aged oaky low proof. But there's nothing wrong with what people like. That's what I always say. They're like, "Hey, what's
Sure.
the best?" And I'm like, "The best is what you think's the best. It could be $20, it could be 20,000.
Yeah.
It is. It's like art. So it's hard to. People always come over. I do like my top 10 of the year. I used to post on my Twitter all the time. Like
Oh,
these are my top 10 bourbons that I tried in 2023 or 2022 and 2000. And I have my brothers come over. We'd blind taste them and we'd rank them and see which one kind of like group got ranked the highest. And I'd watch a lot of bourbon YouTube videos and kind
yeah.
of thought I was a cool bourbon guy. It's really just.
Do you have a favorite at all where it's like, this is the one
ah.
I've always loved, or it's just too many?
Yeah, there's if you're gonna go pound for pound every year, like not like a single barrel that's like one-offs, like the one that kind of recurrence. I would say always a big fan of Michter's 10 years, the rye and the bourbon. The bourbon's probably a lot more for me, but the Michter's 10-year bourbon, I think year in and year out is a competitor of just a great flavor. It's a low proof bourbon that's, if you ever get the opportunity to come across one, fantastic buy. If I'm going high proof, oh man, couple Coy Hills, Jack Daniel's Coy Hill, which is kind of a one-off every year Jack Daniel's make. That is a very kind of sought after bottle. They're super high proof, like a couple hazmats from back in the day that are insane. Trying to think of anything kind of cool. There's actually out of Amherst, Georgia, there is a kind of bourbon that's taken over by storm in the bourbon world because it's coming out of Georgia, not Kentucky. It's called 13th Colony Double Oak, and it is
You writing those down? Okay.
it is a wild experience of a bourbon. Very small, limited production, kind of hard to come by, but it's looks like motor oil. It is so thick. It almost has this like Georgia mapley syrup note to it, bacon thing. But that's a special bottle, and that's like you could have maybe half, yeah, one finger, maybe two. It's not like,
and you're done.
yeah, it's a nightcap for sure. That's like a serious.
That's all
super
bourbon
cool
ever
bourbon.
is for me. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
that's
sip,
exactly I think how bourbon should be. It's
I sip one. If I have two, it's because I'm ready for bed and I might have an extra one. Other than that, it's not a sit around and take shots all night long. That's just ridiculous.
Absolutely not. That I think bourbon is like a perfect cold weather outside, have a glass type. I think I actually got more into it when I moved to Georgia, and the winters were cold in January, and come to find out, like a good rye, outside, or a cigar or something, just fantastic pairing.
Cigar and a bourbon. That's one.
I've stopped mixing bourbons. It's kind of like my brisket. I don't use any sauce on brisket. So now, like bourbons, I don't like do bourbon and Coke. For
Right.
instance.
Yeah.
I'll do like a Boulevardier.
That's a completely different discussion,
Right,
and a completely
right.
different type of bourbon, I guess.
Now, I've kind of grown though. I feel like it's been a personal growth for me. But I like, I like a Boulevardier. That's a good little mixed bourbon cocktail.
There's nothing wrong with cocktails. Like, you tell me right now, you're making a good old fashioned or something. Cool.
Sure.
Like, nothing wrong with that. You can use an expensive bourbon and an old fashioned. I'll never sit there and be like, "What are you doing?" It's like, if you like the way it tastes, man, you go for it. It's like, I've always like, people always like, you can't be an elitist in the world of art or what you think is good. It's all personal, and a Yamazaki 12-year old fashioned, I think, is the greatest old fashioned ever made. People are like, why are you mixing Yamazaki? I'm like, I don't know, try it. It's insane. Like, it's kind of a smokier, peatier Japanese. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I'm not yet to the palate. What notes are hitting my palate? I've kind of gotten it.
You'll get there.
I'll get there. But yeah, I do enjoy.
I never.
And my wife has started to. In fact, when I came home from this last trip at spring training, the Buffalo Trace bottle was empty. So she apparently had a few while I was down there drinking beer at Booty's, and so so I had to go to the store and buy some more. And so anyway, it's just fun. I just really kind of like it. I was never a wine guy. I don't want to be one of those snooty prick beer guys.
That's me.
But bourbon seems like there's a big range you could go on.
Yeah. My wife's like an IPA like person, and I don't. Not to this day. Like, there's nothing wrong. I might be a decent, but I feel like if I drink a whole IPA, I just feel like so much heavier. I feel like I'm like, you know what I mean? It's just not my vibe. But some people like love it, and I'm like, good for you. Like, my wife's going straight for an IPA over anything else, and I'm like, I'm the complete opposite. I'd rather have like a glass of white wine if I could.
Well, see, I used to be a domestic guy. I worked for Coors Beer many, many years ago, way before you were ever even thought of by your dad and all of that. And then but I got away from domestics, and my wife and I have just kind of become. We'll go anywhere we travel. We'll find local breweries, and we'll go to the local brewery and try the IPAs. I'm a blonde. I kind of like lighter beers, and I don't even want a domestic. That's where I want. And I'm a, what do you call it? A snooty beer prick. That's what
right. That's what you are, asshole.
Beer. I like sour ales. I don't know if you ever had any of those. Like a good sour ale.
I have. My wife likes those. I don't like anything with I like bitter.
Tart.
Yeah. Yeah, bitter and tart's good to me. I can do that.
Okay.
Anything else you got to?
No, let's let him go, but we got to do the question. I mean, he's been an open book.
He has. Okay, so this question is a fun one. You'll love because John Daniels gave a great answer to this. One of the questions I've always asked people is, what is something that nobody knows about you? What is something nobody knows about Luke Jackson? Some of the famous answers. Two of your GMs, the one you have now and the one you had before, John Daniels had airplane underwear. Now, that sounds weird, but he has two pair of underwear. He wears one pair on the plane ride there, and he wears one pair on the way back. And he said, "Hey, I'm still here." He goes, "It's my airplane underwear."
It works.
Yeah. Chris Young said, "I'm really into those true crime documentaries." He said, "If I can get a chance to settle down and decompress, it's with a true crime documentary like First 48 or something like that." He's really into those. Television. What is something nobody knows about Luke Jackson?
Oh man, something that nobody knows about me. I'm pretty much an open book, so it's be hard. But recently, and as my son's been getting a little older, I've had a weird fascination with collecting Pokemon cards.
Oh,
yeah, and my wife thinks I think I need help because we'll be at like a Target. I'm like, I'm gonna go check the Pokemon section real quick. She's like, "You're 34 years old. What are you doing?" I'm like, "No, it's for our son. He wants to see it. But it's really just for me because I'm curious." But it's kind of got a nostalgia thing to me. I don't know. I'm just fascinated by it. I think it's really cool, and it's recently. It lasts like 2 years, but just something that's probably nobody really knows because I don't really talk about it ever.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. Listen, nothing else?
No, but yeah, I mean, that's why I still kind of got back into baseball cards because my son.
Yep.
Exactly.
That was the excuse.
Yeah. There's a big reason I can't do baseball cards or sports cards in general because I like collecting things so much, and I know how bad that will end for me. I'm a hoarder myself, so I can't get rid of anything. So I know it'll be really bad if I started collecting sports cards.
All right, really don't do it.
Yeah, they don't.
Stay away.
Listen, we can't thank you enough. We know how busy your guys' schedule are, especially in spring training. For you guys to take time to stop down. We'll try to get you back during the season. We usually during the season we'll do it during when you guys are on a road trip. You know, when you're at home with the family, we get you on a road trip before you head out to the ballpark in the morning. Try to get you on there to do something. But hey, we'll be out there Monday nights. We'll see you all next week. We'll see you there in the clubhouse. And
perfect.
Welcome back to Texas, and thanks for doing this, bud.
Anytime, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, Luke. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Luke. Luke Jackson, right-hand pitcher, Texas Rangers, guys. We're going to get back in it right after this. Luke, thanks for coming on. Just one or two more things before we get out of here. The one big one I wanted, that was great.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad he explained that thing in 2010 because we were down on the field talking to him. We were asking him questions, and it was like he just was given answers that he couldn't answer the questions, and the answers were a little rough. And so TR and I got back to the press box, and we're like, what the F is going on here? What is this deal with this kid?
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that makes perfect sense.
And then he changed all of a sudden once he signed and he's in there. Like, this is
that
was personality.
That was fantastic talking to him. Yeah.
He's a great personality.
Yeah. That was 15 years ago that we met. And
so you're wondering, is he shy? Does he not know how to talk?
Yeah.
What is
he a jerk?
Yeah. Is he an ass?
Is he going to be a pompous, hard to deal with kind of guy, which the Rangers really don't have anyway. But
he was told, hey, you're not technically part of the team, and he was getting this attention.
Don't say anything.
Yeah, so don't say anything that could get you. So he probably was scared to death about what he could say.
Yeah, but that's pretty funny. That was a big series for the Rangers. That was Michael Young broke the franchise hits record, and Josh Hamilton hit one of the more amazing home runs I've ever seen. It was during his unbelievable July of 10. And it was a great road trip too, because I think they'd been to Milwaukee and had a great series there, and went to Miami, or maybe it was vice versa. Might have been vice versa, but whatever the point. Josh Hamilton hit a home run that I swear to God did not get 15 feet off the ground.
Oh, just a shot
straight away center field, and at that old ballpark, pro player Joe Robbie, whatever you want to call it. The batting cage was just out in center field because it's a football stadium. And so there was like a gap of seating. So they just put it out there, and Josh Hamilton, it was 436. Josh Hamilton hit it into that batting cage, and I swear to God, that's still to this day one of the more amazing home runs I've ever seen.
Well, if it didn't get high, that means it went out quick.
Holy
got
crap,
out of there within.
He hit it so hard.
Oh,
I would have loved if there had been exit velocity.
Yeah,
in,
to see what
those days. It would have been unbelievable.
That's amazing.
Anyway,
well, the thing I wanted to touch on, you guys have already touched on it, and it's the one bit of bad news we got last week, and I'm sure that you guys have touched. I've tried to listen in. The Alejandro Rosario.
what a pisser!
Oh yeah. God, and he made the top 100 list of three things right there. We've had him on twice. Just an unbelievably yes or no sir great kid that these guys go after. I don't know if he'll be there when we get there. I know he's probably come back here to get the surgery, right?
Yeah, I asked somebody had sent me a Twitter notification about it and said, I heard, or somebody said that Rosario blew out or whatever. And when the Rangers person I asked didn't respond, he usually responds. I was like, all right, something's probably going on. And then the next day so that would have been Sunday. They hadn't scheduled the surgery yet. So I would imagine it's happened though. I mean, we're 5 days later, or it's going to happen here in the next few days.
Yeah, they want to get it done quick.
It'll be here, get the surgery, convalesce a little bit here, and then
fly back
to Arizona and start the grind.
Where he's going to spend the next year out there doing all of that.
Yeah, he will. And it's a I guess, all right, let's find the silver linings here. You look at a guy who's 6 feet tall and I don't want to say he's slightly built, but he's not as big as I thought he was. Maybe he was just wearing baggy jeans or something. But you think, all right, this guy's got a chance to blow out. So unfortunate news, but it happened in February, right?
Right.
So get the surgery done.
He can easily
do
be
15
back.
Months, get back next July.
Yes. Easily get back next July.
Yeah, and then 27, get into big league camp and kind of be treated with kid gloves that year, but maybe do enough to get into the mix by the end of the year. So, I just think, and I know a lot of people say this, it just seems unavoidable with some guys. It just seems like you should build it into the development plan. It's just like, all right, well, he can be here this year. All right, there's the Tommy John. All right, that's fine. Loses a year.
All the mess and all the crap around Rocker when he got drafted and all of that, and we didn't know about the shoulder. I swear, as much as you hated it, when that elbow blew out, you're kind of like, oh, you know what? Okay, let's get it done now. Let's go. Now anything that's wrong is going to get fixed because you blew out your elbow, and here he is back now, and look at what he's done at the end of last year.
Yeah.
He's got a chance to make this team coming out. It's over with. He's rehabbed. They had control of him the whole time of it. It sucked because he looked pretty good when he first came out that first year and through. He did okay. And now here he's coming back and looks fantastic. And if he doesn't make this team, which would be surprising, I think, he'll start out in AAA's rotation and he's going to be up here for sure.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's just going to take a little while longer, but it happens to a lot of dudes, unfortunately.
Well, Alejandro, listen, we're big pals. I don't know if we'll see you out there this week. I know you had the surgery.
I hope so.
I hope to see him, but if he's had surgery, maybe kicking back, maybe goes home for a week or two before he heads back out.
If he already had it, then who knows?
Yeah, because I think the first part is just stay off your feet and just, he's like this with that big brace.
And occasionally, I don't know if they do it anymore. They would take the ligament from the leg, so they'd have to operate on the leg and the arm. So you'd have to be on a crutch on the non-bad arm. So they take it out of your left leg, I guess, so you can crutch. And but anyway, that's a shame. Yeah. Hopefully, though, maybe better times are ahead. And we do see him, we get a chance to talk to him. I guess we could call him. I mean, we got his phone number.
Yeah.
But anyway, absolutely. So that stunk. I can't really think of any other injuries.
No, just
Cole Drake, who was on the show, his back, he said it was getting better. I think he should be fine. There are a lot of big Cole Drake fans out there. Robbie Alstrom, who was on our show, the last show, he's throwing great.
So is Dunning.
Dunning's throwing well. I think Dunning's motivated, and Cody Bradford appears to be pretty motivated. I think Cody Bradford's pitching tomorrow, and Leiter's going to follow him again. So,
competition breeds competition, man. There ain't nothing wrong with competition, dude.
Yeah, competition, iron sharpens iron.
Absolutely. So. This. Listen, guys. Hey, We don't know if you're going to be out there next week. Jeff will, of course, be on the Daily Show tomorrow with John. So watch for that tomorrow. Again, Premier Properties, thank you so much for sending us out to spring training. We're going to do some reports from out there. And, of course, they're our sponsor for the rest of spring training. Guys, if you're out there, give us a heads up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Hit the DLLS_sports. Listen. Right now, the Stars are playing. The Mavs are playing. The Mavs just played Luka Doncic. They just did that. He just came back into town.
They were there. Actually.
They were actually out there, but they played against Luka. And I know that the boys on the DLLS Mavericks had that covered for you. Of course, it's off season for the Cowboys. Those guys are going daily too and putting out Cowboy stuff.
We're all daily.
Everything's daily, guys. These guys are putting them out. Jeff and I still got the weekly show. We appreciate you guys because it's not possible without you guys. In fact, you guys got us on the map to where Jeff got this opportunity. And then, of course, they brought me aboard to have some fun there. So we really appreciate it. DLLS Sports, get on there and do that. We're going to end this one, right? You got nothing else?
I have nothing else.
Okay. Hey, next time you see us together, we will be in Arizona. Come see us if you want. Thanks to Jeff Wilson, Luke Jackson. I'm John Moore. Until next time, guys, see you at the yard.